member of the House at that time, is our next guest, retired Central New York Congressman John Katko. John, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having us, and welcome to No Shade November.
Yes, I like the look. What do you remember about that shutdown? It was a few years ago now, but you were right in the middle of it, 35 days.
Yeah, and I remember back then, it's really the same as now, and it's just like both sides were marking their territory, and it was more about fighting for the sake of fighting than it was really about anything of hugely substantive importance. And, that's what it was back then, and I was very frustrated. And, you see it now, and really what happened was both sides painted themselves into a corner. The Democrats wanted to fight to show that they're willing to fight against Trump and against the Republican Party. And the Republican Party basically was saying, we're not going to give anything because we don't want to give anything. And neither side is really based in logic. It's really based more in supposed tactics. But I think they both failed. And in the end, someone had to blink, and it looks like the Democrats have blinked. And now we're going to, after 40 days of misery and snap cuts and, unsafe air travel and, reduced air travel and all kinds of things, people going without pay, we're back to where we were. We're going to have a budget. And to me, that's the insanity of this, and it's irresponsible on both sides.
When this all does kind of end, how does it end? And I don't mean like in that kind of procedural way, and we get heat back and snap back and things like that, but like, does it leave a stain on both parties? Who comes out of this? Does anybody remember this once it reopens? Well, how do you see that kind of playing out?
I think there's plenty of blame to go along. There's no doubt about that. But, on the Republican side, it's just sheer recalcitrance. But at the same token, they're like, we don't want to be facing down the barrel of a gun. That was her whole argument, saying, look, we'll talk about Obamacare subsidies, but we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to have it extorted from us because you won't pass a budget and vote for it unless you do. And there's not enough votes to overcome that. So that's one side. And the other side is, I really do believe the Democrats were looking for a fight because last year they didn't seem to fight on the budget. And the left wing of the party, which is having an increasingly large influence on the party, is basically telling them they wanted them to fight. Now, the ironic thing is, the far left is really mad that they cut a deal, but by cutting the deal, they're getting food back in people's mouths who most need it. So there's irony and there's blame for both sides to go around. There's no question about that.
All right, and how much do you think the shutdown is reflected in the results from election night? It was good for the Dems, not so good for the GOP, or other factors, or a big combination of everything?
I think the common threads through those elections are two things. One is they were all very blue states and blue districts. I mean, Manhattan, forget it. It's heavily Democratic. New Jersey, the same thing, and Virginia, the same thing, and California, were the proposition for the gerrymandering. So that's not a surprise. But, there is some surprise, like the Onondaga County legislature. And I think what happened was two things. And the predominant thing was the reason Trump got in office last year was that there was blue-collar Democrats that were disaffected with the party saying, it's an affordability issue. I can't afford to pay my groceries. I can't afford to buy a house. The simple things that we all value in life and take for granted, or at least used to. That's the biggest thing I see. Come to it this year. Now Trump's in office and Republicans are in control. And what do we have? We still have an affordability crisis. And those same people that swung for the Republicans are swinging back to their home party. So that's what happened, I think, across the board. And there's a likability factor with Trump, which factored in. But, and it's an off-year election and all that. I think it's going to be very interesting next year what happens across the board, federal, state, local, because you can have another year. Affordability is now clearly the issue. You heard Elise Stefanik was running as a Republican and for governor, and she's made it very clear affordability is the #1 issue. And she learned from what happened on election night, and I think everyone has. And so they're both going to try and argue affordability and blame the other, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Can't let you go without mentioning this, John. Some pretty big professional news for you. Your WCNY show, Balancing Act with John Katko, nice name, going to PBS stations across the country. Congratulations. How's it feel to be now reaching a national audience?
Well, listen, it's something I never planned on, just like never planned to go into Congress. But the bottom line is people are craving to have some balance when you discuss any issue. Kind of like what I just explained now with respect to the shutdown. They want to hear both sides. They don't want to just hear one side. And when you give them both sides in a logical, reasoned manner, I think that they are responding to it. So they really responded to it in Central New York. and that's why it's going nationwide. And so far, we're getting good reviews, and I'm excited about it because you know what? The swing voters are the one who decide every election, and they're the one that's ignored by both parties these days. And I think they deserve to have some rationality. And I think all sides really need to lower the temperature, and hopefully shows like ours will do that for them. We'll see.
Well, congratulations, Sean, and thank you for joining us tonight.